this sweet card. It's a light up card and it uses the Chibitronics to make it light up. And these are all Hello Bluebird stamps and dies. You're going to need a 3.5 by 8.5 Bristol Smooth Cardstock and a 3 3/8 by 8 3/8 piece of blank white cardstock. This is the set Fairy Gardens, and this is where most of your fairies are coming from. All of the fairies that I used, and the little toadstool on there as well. And you're also going to need this set called Garden Party, and it has the little bug on there. You will also need this set called Fairy Dance from Hello Bluebird. And again, we're using one of the little bugs. And you need this stamp set called Garden Friends, and it has a little snail on there. And you'll need this slimline die that has the mushrooms. We're going to start with these Bristol Smooth Cardstock, and we are going to start with Salty Ocean, and we're going to be using also Broken China, and I'm going to ink blend the background. So we're going to blend these two colors together. The Salty Ocean will be the top part of your card, and Broken China will be the bottom part of your card. It just makes a really great kind of a dusk sky. Since this is a light up card, we want it to look a little bit like it's dark outside, or that it's about sunset. All right, next I'm going to use the Gamzai gold and silver colors. I'm going to use the second from the end gold and just kind of flick that on to the card. Next, I'm going to get out all the little characters. And I have stamped all these onto Bristol Smooth Cardstock. And I also went around them with embossing powder. And embossing powder is really great because it holds in the color from doing watercoloring. Next, I'm going to use Twisted Citron, and I'm going to ink blend the grass areas of this card. And these were pieces that you die cut. So I just go around all the edges. I get it a little bit darker on the top edges than the bottom. Then what we're going to do is use Lucky Clover to go around just the tops and sides of these pieces, these two pieces. And then what we're going to do next is I stamped Lucky Clover on my stamp block, and I then got it wet with my paintbrush, and then I flick that onto these grassy areas, and that just makes it have a little more interest or a little pizzazz. Right, next I sort out all the images into the little mushroom tops, the little mushroom stems, and the different types of leaves. I'm starting with oatmeal to color all of the mushroom stems. and then my watercolor brush to kind of blend that out. And I noticed there it needed just a little bit more on the bottom of that piece. All right, next I'm going to use olive green. And I'm going to color all these stems. And remember, you want to think about where is the sun hitting the stems. And then again, I will just use my watercolor brush and blend that color out. Next, I'm going to use Carmine Red, and I'm going to go around all the mushroom tops and around all the edges of the mushrooms. Now, I put the color on the bottom edge of these mushroom tops, and that's because I feel like the edge would be darker than the top. And then I use my watercolor brush and blend that all out. You could put another color on here if you wanted to. You could put yellow, or you could put green. You could be very creative and do anything you would like. I just thought the red looked really fun. All right, next I'm going to use May Green, and I'm going to color these 3 leaves, the clover leaf and the 2 little leaves. And then my watercolor brush had a little bit of pink on there, so I went in and kind of cleaned that off. All right, and just kind of blend those out and set all that to the side. Next, what I did was I took Vintage Photo, and I just took it and rubbed the actual ink pad onto the edges of this frame for this card. And it makes it look like it has like a wood frame. So I suggest, though, once you finish doing this, since it's on Bristol Smooth Cardstock, that you set it off to the side to let it dry, because actually it was not dry and it got on my fingers, and I ended up leaving a lot of fingerprints on that card. But for this video, I went ahead and used it anyways. And I ended up covering a lot of the fingerprints that I made. But it definitely needs to dry. Right, now I'm going to go in with my wet glue, and I'm just going to put my grass pieces in first, because that will help you with your placement of the mushrooms. And see, I was noticing, oh man, I was getting ink prints everywhere. All right, so I glue in the big mushroom first. And in the crafters world, we call this paper piecing. Then this is the little mushroom. Next, I'm going to put the big mushroom top head on. And I kind of went back with my marker and filled in any little white spaces that I noticed. Right, then I took the little one, glued it on. And you notice I kind of daubed the glue with my finger, and the reason I do that is so the glue does not go everywhere. And I just punched that little piece that was in there out of that mushroom head. All right, next we're going to do our tall grass pieces. And you can use the die to help guide you to where to put the pieces. I just kind of eyeballed it to what I thought looked good. And you'll notice that they line up really well with the top of the die, that frame. So if you get them in there just right, it'll line up really nicely for you. Now that last piece of grass overlapped the mushroom, which I was okay with, but in the actual die it does not do that. Same with that clover piece. I overlapped it just because I thought it would give it some interest. And I had a little piece of something on there and I cleaned that off. All right, next we just kind of place our pieces where we want them to go. And this is going to help us with the light feature of our card. So when you figure out where you want your pieces to go, you're going to poke a hole in your background. And so that's what I'm doing here with my X-Acto knife. Then I move all the pieces out of the way and I go in there and I'm going to cut little holes where those pieces are going to go, where I want the lights to shine through. Now on this mushroom part is very thick, so make sure you do this on a surface that you can really get a lot of push in. If you do it on a wood surface, you're gonna ruin your wood surface. So I suggest a glass mat. All right, so this is where that other piece of cardstock comes into place. You're going to trace around those holes with a pencil. You're going to need a little piece of paper for your battery. And think about what is going to be on top of that on your card. So we have the little fairy that's sitting on the mushrooms on top of that. All right, so this is the chibi lights. This is how they come. You're going to want to run your tape along the top and inside of that little flap card that you made. And you'll see here in just a moment why. You're going to run your tape all along the parts where your lights are going to go. And if I were you, I suggest that you draw the path that you want your tape to go, and it will make your life easier. I kind of messed up right here on this very first little light because your tape should not overlap. And I was worried that it wasn't going to work, but it actually worked out still. But I would draw the path for your lights. All right, now I'm going to take the white lights, and you want to make sure the positive is all on one strip and that the negative is all on the other strip. And then I go along and burnish that with my tool. Now I'm going to check it. Does it work with the battery? Yes. So that my positive is on the top. And so my battery's positive should be up so that you see it. And then the negative is down. So the negative part of my battery is going down. And I check it a couple times to see that it's working. I add a little Suquang 1/8 inch tape to my bottom of my battery so that I know it won't move around on my card recipient. Next, you're going to need 3 layers of tape to cover your card. This very first piece, I do not take the backing off. I only take the backing off of the bottom part that actually sticks to the card on that very first piece because I don't want that tab to be down all the time. If it's down all the time, the card will never turn off. So you're going to cover the whole card. So it will look like this once you're finished. And keep checking those lights to make sure your lights work. All right, now you're going to line up those holes with the lights and then push down firmly. Okay, and now there's a couple elements that you're going to glue down. So this little grouping of flowers I glued down to the card. The fairies and the bugs, except for the snail, are all pop dotted. So next we're gluing the snail. So I place all my fairies because I don't want to put the bugs in a place where I don't want them exactly. Especially that one little bug that's in between that's looking like it's going to go land on the little fairy's hands. So I make sure I place those down. I'm using 3L adhesive. It's like my favorite adhesive for pop dotting. This little fairy is going to smell the flowers. So I wanted to make sure I got her placed before I put this little bug on there. Now I cut my little pop dots right on their backing. And there she is. All right, and then we're going to do the little bugs. Now it is key with the little bugs that you do not put foam tape on the areas where the holes are for the lights. If you do that, your recipient will not see the lights in their card, and the card won't shine as well. So you're going to see here, I put that on there. I shouldn't have put that right there. So I take it off in just a minute because it would cover the hole. And I don't want to cover the hole because I want the light to shine through it. So there I am. I'm taking that off. And you can use your tweezers too to put these adhesive pieces on. All right, and we're just going to repeat the same process until all of the little critters and fairies are on there. Notice in the mushrooms how they have blue dots. I actually go in there and take the white little die cut dots and fill those in. So you see that right here. Next, you're going to take Thank You Very Much and stamp that. I use my Nocturne ink, VersaFine Clair ink, and stamp that. All right, next I take this white paint marker and go in and just add some little accents to everything. And I give the girl right here pink dots on her dress. But I just think it makes everything come alive once this step is finished. And again, I colored everything with my watercolor markers. They're Zig watercolor markers. All right, and the last step is to add some fairy dust stickles. Or it's called stardust. I call it fairy dust because it's like every little critter that has wings gets this. You gotta have a little glitter on your card. And there it is, our finished card.